Hello, my name is Koshi George, and I want to talk to you today about the experiences of my family and myself over the last 3 years. Today marks the end of 3 years since my family and I have been brutally ill treated, harassed, subjected to racial slurs, verbal threats, at all. And it's still continuing. Today is not an easy day for me because just thinking about what we have been through over the last 3 years and having survived it and still continuing to experience this with no end in sight is not the easiest of experiences to narrate because it is gross injustice. And I felt the need to tell our story on this culmination of 3 years of this ongoing hell. What my wife has been through, what our daughter has been through, is something that no immigrant to America should ever go through. Um, and I want to, through this experience of narrating our story, hope that there will be a change where immigrants to the United States of America would at no point of time have to experience what my family and I have been through. I've been here for 26 plus years. I'm an American citizen. And I never thought over that since what happened to us on 30th of November 2020, around 10 a.m., something like this would ever happen to anyone here in the US. But it does. And it doesn't happen everywhere. I'm a proud American. I believe our nation is one of the greatest nations in the world. I love India too. I was born in India. I was raised in India. Uh, and I'm very delighted to tell you that despite all that we have been through, we are proud Americans, my wife, our daughter, and I. With that said, let me launch into what happened. Okay, I will give you a series of incidents that have taken place. I'm not going to go into a lot of description, but I will just tell you what has happened. And this is part one, and this is the first time I'm doing something like this. So I'm not an expert. At media or anything of that sort, but I feel that we need to get our story out there so that more and more people who are immigrants to this country feel bold and feel that they have the rights and privileges that sometimes are being crushed just because of the color of their skin or because of their culture or where they come from. It is possible for certain others here in the US who are also citizens, but they feel that they're superior to you, like a white supremacist or a narcissistic person who doesn't like other communities can engage in these kind of behaviors, and if they have certain powers, they will harm you. But the answer is not to be afraid of these kind of people. The answer is to stand up to this kind of behavior and say no to it. It has come at a great price for me and my family. So this is our story, and since it's an ongoing hell that we are going through, I've titled this live session of mine Auschwitz in Silicon Valley. It really is in Auschwitz, and you will realize that as you go along with me on this journey. On the 30th of November 2020, around 10 a.m., I had a knock on our front door, and this is COVID time. My daughter, she was online schooling those days, and I answered the door in the middle of making breakfast for her because she was on a break during the online schooling. And it was our next door neighbor. I opened the door, and I was subjected to some of the most foul abuses I've ever heard. And hearing all that loud, threatening abuses and things that he said, my daughter came rushing out and she was listening to it. And among the things that he said at that time, apart from the false, the filthy abuses, and I won't narrate those abuses, was he said, I will make sure you will not be fit for anything else but mowing lawns and flipping hamburgers. I'll make sure you lose your CPA license and I will put you in jail. And I was shocked at what was going on, what was wrong with this man. I shut the door because I did not want my daughter to feel traumatized, which she already had by the time, and I didn't realize. And I quietened her down and I finished making breakfast for her and went back to my home office where I am sitting right now to work. I opened my phone and there was a threatening text, there was threatening emails, there was a voicemail, and I said, "What am I doing? What's going on?" And so the voicemail was from contractors who were working in our backyard. They said they did not want to work anymore and they felt threatened by this neighbor and they all ran away. They were basically taking down two palm trees on our property, which were very close to the house, and as a result were breeding. We had challenges with roof rats. These roof rats would come on from those palm trees onto our roof and would breed and would create so much racket in the noise. It was very difficult to sleep. So, we decided to get rid of those two trees. And so we had an arborist who had a team of about 10 people. They were responsibly bringing down. By the time it was 10 o'clock, one tree was completely stubbed to the ground and all of the debris was in our backyard. You can imagine. So they could not start the second tree because by that time this fellow had, threatened these people and they'd gone. They'd left. We were puzzled because we realized what was going on. And from the next day onwards began more horrors for us. Our garbage bins, we were not able to get them serviced. Our recycle bins, we were not able to get them serviced. He would block the entire easement. And let me give you an example of what he was doing. This is what he was doing. Here is a picture of every other, that's the easement, that's a private road. That's my home here. It's a private road. And these were being used to block any exit or entry from using these bins. He had managed to get the other neighbors to do likewise. And so we were puzzled by what was going on. And so there were days on which our garbage bins never got serviced. Any guests coming to our home, they were harassed. They were ill-treated. And they would flee. My daughter's friends and parents refused to come to our house because he would stare them down and do all kinds of mischief to make our lives very, very difficult. If I tried to talk to him, he would say, "I don't understand your English." So I had to deal with that. I grew up on English. I came from India. My mother tongue is Malayalam. I come from a state in India called Kerala. But I grew up on English from the time I was born. And I worked all around the globe and I speak in English. I talk everything. And the first thing that, even if I speak in other languages, the thoughts come to my brain in English first. So it was rather bizarre when I was told that I don't understand your English. And that is the whole way to block me. I could not have a conversation with him because the moment I start talking, he would be very abusive verbally. And then he would say, "Get out of this country, go back to India. What are your buffaloes? You are rats from a third world country. We don't want you here." My wife was called a fat woman. And, this used to continuously happen. Every time we step out of the house, he would say stupid things. And, we are raising a teen. Those days, she was a preteen. You're raising a child. You don't want a child to be exposed to this kind of nonsense for no rhyme or reason. We would call the police would come, they would give us an incident ticket, and that was it. We didn't even know that these incident tickets are later on we have to insist on pressing charges. We didn't know anything about all this. So we would just get these incident tickets and we were thinking, okay, some action will follow. Nothing ever would happen. And until this kept on for 4 months on end, continuously. One of my friends said, "You can't live like this. You need to get a restraining order." So, which is what we got. We got a temporary restraining order against this fellow. And that temporary restraining order became a 2-year, you know, permanent restraining order, which later on the 16th of December next year, that's going to become a 5-year restraining order. Meantime, this fellow has gone about trying to appeal against these restraining orders, and there are so many things that have been done, so many harassing stuff that I want to talk about. That he doesn't care. He doesn't care. You can have any number. Thank God we have a restraining order, because at least because of that we can call the 911 and say the police will come. But that's about it. Nothing else. He doesn't get stopped from behaving like this. Uh, and so this has been going on for the last 3 years. It has affected our daughter in many ways. She's been traumatized by all this. A perfectly normal, outdoor, sprightly kid has withdrawn into a shell, and it was showing up in her grades, it was showing up in her personality. In many ways, you get up in the night and be very worried and frightened. Um, and We had to deal with that as parents. We were watching all this, and the immense stress from all this was harming, was affecting all of us. There was a day, I think it was in 2021 sometime, middle of 2021, but my wife was under extreme stress, and she had to be hospitalized, and she was in emergency, and doctors did a bunch of tests for about half a day, and she was being monitored in San Francisco, and they were not able to understand what was wrong with her. And then the doctor called me. We talked to, do you have any challenges at home? I said, we have a neighbor who is harassing us. Well, it seems the extreme stress from that is causing all this. And so it turned out to be so. And so my wife has been affected. I have been affected. My work life has been badly affected. What this fellow does is he goes and files spurious lawsuits because he's able to in the court system. And then, a lawsuit is filed, you have to answer to it, right? And it takes a lot of time and effort. And we had a lawyer initially who, he what he did was he stopped that lawyer from representing us by filing a lawsuit against that lawyer. So essentially, let me give you some pictorial examples. You see, this is an easement lane, and which has a fire hydrant at the end. It's a broad lane. My house is at the first one, and there are 5 homes further down on this easement. You cannot block these lanes, right? These are fire compliant lanes, and so you can't do these kind of things. So I called the fire captain in our local area and had him come over and talk to this man to stop blocking the easement. Instead, what he did was he got abusive with the fire captain, and then filed a lawsuit against the fire captain and the fire department. Okay, he did that. Code enforcement came over and questioned some of what he does. The extent of debris that he puts along the highway, blocks it up, doing all kinds of things. There is a lawsuit against what? There's a lawsuit against code enforcement because they do that. And then there was an instance where the police had come over to help address problems that he was causing. And so then, let me see, I thought I had a printout of that. Yeah, here we are. Is the police officer, all the debris that he puts up and things that he blocks the easement with, the police officers, a bunch of police officers came, and they, tried to talk to him. Guess what? Lawsuit against the police department. So this is the kind of thing that happens. And we have been dealing with this for the last 3 years. Abuses along the easement, lawsuits, enough to destroy a person. And, let me tell you, just yesterday in the mail, I got this letter, and this is from the Superior Court of Santa Clara County. It's basically dismissing one of the companies he filed a lawsuit against. I mean, there's a company that I represent, and this fellow just makes up stories and files lawsuits. And so this is dismissal of that company from, we won that case, thank God, because there were spurious lies being said. So he keeps on doing these kind of things. One of the there are still lawsuits that I have to deal with. There is an arbitration case that I have to deal with. Everything is being done to literally destroy us. He's used to destroying people's lives. In the year 2017, there was an Adobe Systems husband and wife couple who were living here down this easement. In the year 2017, he decided he doesn't like them anymore. And he started threatening them. We didn't know at that point of time that's what was going on, because I could see this gentleman. He was very worried. He's of Chinese origin. And I used to wonder what's going on. They sold their house because they just could not live here. Several residents who have been tenants of other homeowners who have rented out their homes, they have fled the neighborhood. They've all complained to the police, but since nothing happens, people can't, when you have kids, you will understand what I'm saying a lot better. I'm a father, I'm a husband. I have seen what it does to my family. I've seen you can imagine what it's done to us. It's not easy. But we decided to, continue to complain to the police, continue to go to the courts and tell our story. And that's why we continue to be punished. This matter is so terrible that there are two violations of the restraining order, and that's why there's a criminal case against this fellow. But he knows the art of playing the system. He knows the art of how to keep on postponing matters, and that's what's going on. If a judge gives an opinion that he doesn't like, he files a lawsuit against the judge or the opinion. And then that goes to the appellate court. He loses there. Again, it's back to the trial court. Boom, the same story continues. So it's been going on like this for some time. We are living threatened, frightened lives over here. Many times he comes out to the easement and says, "Come and fight me like a man," and starts abusing me. I don't take these kind of baits. That's not the way mentally I'm conditioned to go and pick up fights with people. I am a law-abiding citizen, so is my wife and our daughter. We tell the police. That's why they're there. We tell the courts, or we tell the politicians, the council members, or the mayor, and we expect that they would take action. But nothing happens. Nobody is willing to talk up to this, tell this man. I was talking to some folks in Southern California, and they were telling me, "Koshi, this doesn't happen in Southern California. This is very strange that in Santa Clara County, this kind of bullying activity can be carried out." And it's true. You go to Southern California, there are certain cities that will very clearly it'll say, "We do not tolerate." There are billboards that say, "We do not tolerate any kind of bullying in our city." And so, but that's not the way it is in San Jose. In San Jose, you can be bullied and harassed, and you have to just stomach it. That's what it seems. It's one state, but there are different laws in different superior courts. One of the persons I was speaking to was telling me, "Koshi, if this kind of sustained harassment and bullying and filing of spurious lawsuits were to happen in anywhere in Southern California, in San Diego, or Los Angeles, or Orange County, the judge would turn in such people, and get their bar licenses canceled, and those kind of things would happen." But none of that happens here in San Jose. You lose your money. I've lost thousands of dollars to lawyers who were representing us and who were not able to successfully represent us before this fellow. And they took off. And so we are in limbo. There are spurious lawsuits being filed. There was a lien put on our house at one point of time, and that surprises anybody. You say, "What? Why is there a lien on your house?" Well, the lien is off. A wonderful judge in Santa Clara County Superior Court, he saw through the spuriousness of this lien, and he expunged it. We didn't want to live in our home anymore. I have an office near downtown, near Santana Row. I can't even go there. I'm afraid for my life because my child, number one, we're trying to bring her up. Thank God our child is a lot better today. But that is not how she was for the last 3 years, and she's gone through a lot. And as parents, we dropped everything else, and you work to bring up your child's confidence. And so my wife and I were engaged in that, dealing with these lawsuits, dealing with the threats on our easement, all kinds of hassles. We're still going through all this, and it's been 3 years of relentless sufferings. It's very wrong. Such things should not happen to anybody. And I'm not doing this for my entertainment. We will survive this evil that is being done to us by a white. I have no hesitancy in calling this person a white supremacist and a very narcissistic person. The entire neighborhood is frightened of him. Nobody wants to say anything. If you say anything, he will file lawsuits against you, and lawsuits are not fun. Right now I'm dealing with so many spurious lawsuits. I have to deal with them one after the other, right? It's not easy. Thank God that one of the national corporations that I represent is no more, being victimized. In this envelope contains the judgment, where the judge said throughout the ridiculous case that this fellow filed against us. So this is the kind of nonsense that I am dealing with and continuing to deal with. I don't know when the district attorney of Santa Clara County will take action, when the law enforcement will seriously look into all this. And there are so many police cases beyond even the two criminal cases against this person for violating the restraining orders that we have. That up until about 3 weeks ago, he was filming our daughter and her friends, and we caught him doing that, and we reported him to the police for that. But that's it. You get these, these. Let me show you. You get these pink incident cards, and a report gets written up about his behaviors, and that's it. Nothing else happens. And so this is the kind of thing that's going on, and I hope this is not something that somebody else who's an immigrant to the United States, especially people from Asia, other fellow Indians, would ever face this. And even if you face it, the answer is not in running away. The answer is standing up to this kind of behavior, because we are, just because of the color of your skin, you're no less an American than somebody who is fair skinned. Okay. In this world, we have people of different races. There is white, black, yellow, brown. The color of your skin is not the determinant of whether you are telling the truth or you are treated differently. No, it should never be the case. You ask anywhere in Santa Clara County, they'll say, "Oh, no, 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 there's no racial discrimination." But the fact of the matter is, what we are undergoing, what we are experiencing, because of the lackadaisical attitudes and the and not to even take our matter seriously, despite so many allegations coming up. This is almost like this is a hate crime, but no action is being initiated to stop it. And it's costing us money. It's costing us mentally, physically. We are affected. We are not able to raise our child in a pleasant environment. This is not what anybody should be facing or going through on a regular basis like this. Yeah, I can smile, I can be happy, but always this is like a Damocles sword hanging over your head, that you've done nothing wrong and you're being dragged through the system. We tried to sell our house and move away, but 4 families were interested in buying our home. We gave full disclosure about this guy's behaviors and everything. Finally, it turned out that nobody was interested in buying our home because of this man's behavior. And so none of us in our neighborhood can ever aspire to sell our home unless we enter into a quid pro quo with him. And what he's trying to do is something nefarious. I suspect that he's trying to force everybody into a homeowners association. We have 5 homes, and none of us agree that it's a HOA. But if you try to sell your home, unless you give it to him in writing that you will, he needs 3 families to agree so that he can make money of this. And he will make himself the lifelong president of the HOA. And so this kind of nonsensical behavior is what he does, and continues to engage in. And if you don't comply, or if you stand up to him, immediately he files lawsuits against you and tries to victimize you and destroy you. And not just filing lawsuits, but even along the easement, he won't allow you to park your cars. He'll make it very difficult for anybody coming to your home. Their license plates will be noted down. They'll be chased out. When we were on vacation, one of our friends who was watering plants at our home in our absence, in our backyard, as soon as he left, this fellow was stalking him. I get stalked. I used to get stalked on whenever I would go for a walk by this guy. I get stalked on the internet by him. It's very funny. In fact, one of the lawsuits that he filed against us, he takes my own profiles on LinkedIn and on Facebook and other places, and then makes that a case. Can you believe this? It's ridiculous. The judge threw it out. You can't use social media posts to validate your claims, is what the judge essentially says in the judgment. So I'm still standing up to all these folks. I find this ridiculous that here in the state of California, in the Santa Clara County, there's a deep-seated inertia to act on these kind of things with firmness. My understanding is there is no ordinance to deal with this kind of behavior. There is no rule or laws. That is why this fellow continues to harass families. There are Malaysian, Singaporean, Korean families in this neighborhood, East Europeans. They're all frightened of this person. That's not the way to live. That's not the way I propose to live my life. It is much as it's affecting us. I hope this ends, and it ends sooner and doesn't continue like this to harm people. That's my hope. And I just wanted to get this off my chest. And tomorrow we enter into the fourth year of this continuing harassment and bullying. And God knows when it'll end. God knows when it'll end. I believe that communities need to come together. I live in a suburban neighborhood in San Jose where there is a community. The community, if the community comes together, a lot of these kind of problems can be avoided. You don't have to spend money on lawyers. Communities but unfortunately in our situation, we are surrounded by other immigrants and everybody's frightened of this person. So communities need to come together so that when a community represents a matter before a mayor or a council member or a district attorney, they get an audience. Here I am, a single person standing up to this kind of an atrocity. I don't get an audience with the DA. Or even right now, yes, there is the criminal case and it's before the DA's office. But you know what? There are thousands of cases. So nobody realizes that there are real human beings suffering behind these cases. Cases in the Santa Clara County court system, in civil or in criminal, judges are looking to postpone and get new dates for people. They are excited to get new dates, and that's the flaw that gets exploited by this guy who is troubling us because he knows the system. We don't know the system, and everything gets postponed. Nothing ever comes to trial. While there are spurious lawsuits one after the other, I have everything with me to prove that they are spurious, but it has to come up to trial. It's never allowed to come to trial, and so this is a sad state of affairs, very sad state of affairs. And I just wanted to end this video stream and this live event that I'm doing on YouTube. To much as it is a sad story, I would like to see more and more immigrants here in the United States, legitimate immigrants like me. None of us should ever be told, go back to your own country from where you came from. We are Americans. We are naturalized citizens here. We are raising children here who were born here. Or what kind of an impression is this kind of horrible racism and threats and harassment doing to these young minds who we are raising for a future in this country, in the United States of America? And if people like this can behave like this and bully neighborhoods, and neither the elected council member or the mayor or the police or the courts can do anything, but you keep languishing, you keep wasting your money for time, for no reason, that is not fair. Filming of young kids, teenage children who are playing on a weekend, it's not fair. Looking at them through binoculars is not fair. But you can pile up. I have a file this thick of videos and documents and testimonies. I would like to close by reading a testimony of one of the persons who had a terrible experience with this person. Here is another thing that he used to do. You see, this is a Hindu goddess, okay, caricature of an effigy of a Hindu goddess that this man made, and it is with a tongue sticking out. That is goddess, the Hindu goddess Kali, with stones here. And on the back of this thing, I don't have a picture of that, but on the back of this thing, he would list my name, my wife's name, and the lawsuits, the spurious lawsuits he has filed, to make an example so that anybody passing by would say would would think 10 times before they deal with this fellow. So this is the kind of things that he does, and this has all been submitted to the courts. There is exhibits. One of the exhibits that is submitted to get a restraining order against this guy. And I just want to, gosh, I can't find that here. There was a testimony given to me by uh, one of the gentlemen who was harassed by this person. I can't find this right now, but yeah, I wish I could. But yeah, of people's terrible experiences of harassment and bullying. Maybe next time I do a video, I will talk about that. But thank you for watching this. Whenever people watch this, nobody has ever watched this so far live when I'm doing it, but that doesn't matter. This video will be on my channel, and I will share links to this so that people get emboldened. For folks, the purpose of this kind of a session is to remind people running away from such people is not the answer. Several neighbors have run away from this neighborhood, selling their homes in desperation, or tenants breaking their leases and running away because of this kind of behavior. I think there is a responsibility on the city and the district elected officials to stop this kind of behavior, to be able to have ordinances and laws where hoardings which say we will not, no kind of bullying of any immigrant community will be tolerated. That's very important. Just like in Southern California, there are cities that say that, in Orange County and other places, no bullying. I think San Jose and the neighboring areas should also have this kind of hoarding that says no bullying will be tolerated. Yeah, and I hope that I as a citizen of the United States, can my saying this would have some meaning. Thank you, folks. Bye bye.